the non-farm payrolls. Now, the non-farm payrolls presents a total number of paid U.S. workers of any business, excluding workers from general government jobs, private household jobs, employees of non-profit organizations, and farm employees. Now, as this number grows, it means jobs are being created, hence more persons having jobs. More jobs mean more people spending money, which results in economic growth. Now, the non-farm payrolls data is a very big data. It contains many things, okay? Now, as a Forex trader, we mainly focus on the headline number, which is the amount of jobs created per month. And this normally range anywhere from 100,000 to maybe 250,000. As a Forex trader, we pay attention to the headline number. That's very important because that tells us how many new jobs are created. The next thing as a Forex trader to pay attention to is the average work week and the average hourly earnings, because this will give us an idea as to whether or not the employment rate is approaching full employment. Okay? Average work week and average hourly earnings. Now the average work week is simply how many hours is worked per week. Okay, on average per person, how many hours is worked per week? That's the average work week. Okay, now this can give us an insight into whether or not we are approaching full employment. And what full employment is simply the point at which employers will need to start increasing wages in order to attract employees. Okay, so once we reach a point where employers start to increase wages to attract employees, we call this point full employment. The central bank has to pay attention to whether or not the country is reaching full employment, because employment may start to increase inflation. Once employers starts to pay employees more, okay, once employers starts to increase wages, they will then start to increase the price of their goods and services. So the central bank has to focus on whether or not the country is approaching full employment, which is why average hourly earnings is extremely important, because as the average hourly earnings starts to increase, this will give us an idea of whether or not we are approaching full employment. Okay, so it's good to know that high employment can also cause inflation. High employment can also cause inflation, which in itself can affect economic growth. Okay, so the central bank has to pay keen attention to the non-farm payrolls data and unemployment rate, so that the central bank can know when it is right to increase interest rate to prevent increased inflation caused by increased wages. Okay, so yeah, the non-farm payrolls, this is a very big data, and this can be extremely lucrative to trade. As a fundamental trader, you can make a lot of money trading the non-farm payrolls data. Once you understand this data and you understand how to use other indicators to help you to get an insight into what to expect for the non-farm payrolls data, and then you understand how to look at the non-farm payrolls data, which is to look at the headline number and to also pay attention to the average work week and average hourly earnings. And you should mainly pay attention to the average hourly earnings whenever a country is approaching full employment. So for the US, unemployment rate is currently around about 5% or about 4.9%. So the US is approaching full employment. And if the unemployment rate continues to decrease, this may affect wages. And as a result, we will see an increase in the average hourly earnings. Okay, so yeah. The non-farm payrolls indicator, this is an extremely important indicator and is watched closely by the federal bank.